Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Italian Tech Tree Tier 8 heavy tank, the Progetto 54. Now this is a tank that got buffed a wee while ago. If you want to see what actually got buffed on the tank, you can go back to my video which was buffed at last for this tank, which was back in April I believe. And in that video I'll go through all that changed with the tank. In short, basically it got massive reload buffs. It got massive changes to its reload. And it just made this tank so much more bearable to play, because this tank before that was just utter garbage. It was not good, because the gun was derpy. It just didn't have a good reload at all. In fact, its reload was nearly as bad as a Bisonte for having 40 less alpha. You know, it wasn't a very nice tank to play. But with the buffs to the not to the gun handling, sorry, to the DPM, it made it so much nicer to play. And to be honest, I've had quite a lot of fun playing it whenever I've taken it out. So as a crew, I run on the tank. I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanics, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and Off-Road Driving. Now I run Off-Road Driving to help me get to the top speed of this tank, because the top speed of this tank is very, well, the mobility of this tank is very good. It's got a 45 km/h top speed, which is, you know, solid. But you can actually add the traction system onto that and make it 49. And if you run the off-road driving with the traction system, you will hit 49 km/h really easily. Now, I actually don't run the traction system. And you might be going, oh, why is that? If the mobility of this tank is really good and you can play it more like a medium. Kind of similar way to the FCM 50T in a way. Just a couple of kilometers slower. The reason I don't run it is because the gun is derpy. I actually run Rammer Vertstabs and optics. Now, like I say, you could quite easily drop, say, the Vertstabs and run traction system just to get the extra speed. Just make sure you fully aim all your shots, and even then, sometimes it still misses. But, you know, generally, you will have a lot better time with the gun with the Vertstabs, but it's not that bad. It just frustrates me enough that I go, you know what, I'll just forsake the 4 extra kilometers an hour for the gun handling, just so I can actually hit my shots. It's down to play style, it's down to you. Again, it's always personal preference, which is why I always say with the equipment setups and the crew setups, it's always like a basis, right? You set it up like that and you think, okay, no, this tank's annoying me with this. I might take off something else for this. I might take off like off-road driving and put rapid aim on to make the turret traverse better, or anything generally, really. So we're in the first game. On the first game, we're on Westfield. And I'm playing it a little bit wrong, but at the same time it's kind of working out alright. And that is when that T30 got spotted. To be honest, the reason I did it on the T30, I dropped my entire clip on the T30. It's never preferable to do that in an auto-reloader, because that means you just burn your DPM completely. But I decided to do it because it is a T30, and T30's hurt. And what I wanted to do was trap that T30 in place, make him low enough so that Swindle in his TNH 105-1000 could probably clip him out and kill him, which is what's happened. Because the T30 hits hard, and it was kind of like, okay, I don't want that T30 alive. Then I came up against the Conway, and when I came up to get shots into the Conway, I only had 2 in, but I could finish that guy off. And again, with the E5, I've just burnt my reload again. I'll always say, don't drop your clip in an auto-reloader unless you really have to. I burnt it again against the E5 because, number one, I felt like I was possibly going to have a chance to reload all the shells anyway, because that E5 was about to be rushed by the entire team, and by the time I've dropped the clip, I put him down to a one-shot, therefore everyone else can kill him. This is the sort of situation where it is alright to drop the clip, because, like I said, my DPM's gone right, but at the same time, I'm completely safe. I could drop back behind the hill, wait for my reload to come back in, and then now I'm effective. I can actually clip out this E4, so I decide I'm going to go for it, but unfortunately, we don't actually hit him. But he gets relit up, and it's an E4, so we've got to try and take the chance to kill it. But unfortunately, our 220 pen just did not go through that E4's angled side there, which leaves him alive. Again, it's taking out dangerous targets. You've just got to really pick and choose where you have to or want to drop these clips, because it's one of those things, right, because you don't want to burn the clip, like, really all that much ever. But if the opportunity presents itself, especially when you're bottom tier, to have the opportunity to wipe out a tier 10 tank, especially one like the E4 that's deadly, or like the T30 at tier 9, which is horrible to face when you're in you know, when it can take a lot of your health in one go, you always kind of want to take the opportunity to get rid of them or make them pay, essentially. And they can be good targets to choose. But staying in single shot mode is definitely a good way of playing it. But I mean, it would have been horrific back in the day when, or before it was buffed. But now it has been buffed. The reload on this tank isn't that bad at all. And while it is worse than a lot of its compatriots, or, well, a lot of its competitors, I should say, at the tier, in terms of a reload for a single shot, it's still not horrific. 9.7 for 320 is, yeah, like I said, it's not the best, but when you have the capacity to have flexibility in this auto reloader, it's definitely okay. And add to that the fact that this tank isn't slow, its mobility is really good, its hull armor isn't great, but it's enough that, you know, when you angle it right, you can bounce the odd shot here and there. The turret armor is decent against a certain amount of tanks, which is nice. It kind of makes an all-round pretty decent tank to play. So right there, I go for the dumping of the clip into the Super Conqueror, because again, it's a Super Conqueror, it's a tier 10. Every shot into a tier 10 helps to get rid of them out of the game. But the thing with that guy especially was the fact that he was being attacked by two of my teammates. So what I wanted to do was put the shots into that guy, do as much damage to him as possible, and therefore, well, it would have helped my teammates out if they'd managed to survive, and it could have meant that that guy would have been killed. But unfortunately, we ended up bouncing like two of the shots because the AP at 220, which wasn't enough at the distance. And we've actually run out of AP nearly. We've only got one shell left. So we're loading the APCR, which will help us a lot against tanks like the E4, which we get one shot into his lower plate. Now we're reloading. I'm like, okay, I'm going to chance it. Unfortunately, we bounce. He misses his shot. Just looking for the shot, and we bounce off the side of his turret. Again, in this position that I'm in, I'm fairly safe in the knowledge that, you know, if I blow the clip, I can get safe and reload the whole clip. That's why I'm doing it, because I wouldn't necessarily always blow the clip just in an instant, right? It's not something I do all that often in the tank. It's just that if you get, like I say, if you get the opportunity to punish tier 10s with big guns like that, it's the best way. But unfortunately, we didn't get to kill the E4 because his armor's good enough. We end up staying safe, though, because when we got spotted, that E4 was looking at us. But there was a big house in the way, so he couldn't shoot us. There's now 4 tanks left on their team. They have one in the cap. We know who is going to be in that cap. It's going to be the Super Conqueror. He was the last one spotted down there. I have a full clip. I know, again, I can clip him out if I get spotted. So I'm taking the careful route round to get to him. So using these ridges, I can stay safe if I get spotted. I can pull back. Now he is lit up. I'm pulling back so that he can't spot me. But actually, there's a lot of foliage in the way. So yeah, he's not going to spot us. We get a shot into his drive wheel. Now he's a one-shot for us, and we finish him off. And he was the last tank on the team. So we finished the game with a very hefty total for the Progetto 54, a nice total. We finished with the victory, 2 kills, 4.7k damage, 1100 assistance, Ace Tanker, Confederate, the Sniper Medal, 2017 base XP. A really nice game for the Progetto 54. Like I said, it's a tank that is fairly solid these days, and can be quite a lot of fun to play. And it's because the mobility on the tank is really nice. Like, you can use the mobility on the tank really, really well. The armor on it, in terms of the turret armor, is, again, solid when you're facing guns up to, like, what, 230, 240, maybe even 250 pen. If you're using it, like, fully hull down on an angle, you know, you can ricochet quite a lot of shots off of it, which is nice. The upper plate, like I say, isn't the best. The lower plate, again, is tragic, but that's a lower plate. The upper plate, again, can be penned by a lot of tanks if they're firing, say, like, you know, 220 pen, 210 pen, maybe even 200 pen. You know, it's not the hardest shot to pen in the universe for a lot of the tanks you're going to face. But like I say, that's why, you know, you play it a little bit more similarly to something like the FCM 50T. While you don't have the DPM that the 50T has, because that tank is utterly insane, you have the mobility and you have the troll armor. And you still have a fairly hard-hitting gun at 320. And like I say, you have the flexibility in the fact that your reload isn't horrific anymore. And you have the flexibility in deciding when and where you need to drop a clip. So right here, I was thinking of holding the shot. I was just watching the concept. But because we could actually, well, he took so many hits that we could end up killing it, I thought, you know what? I'm going to take out this concept 1B and get rid of a tier 9. But unfortunately, penetration-wise, we just couldn't go through his upper plate or lower plate as at this distance as he got unspotted. So we ended up wasting our DPM, but we did get 2 shots into for 636, and it's once again one of those times where I got to this ridge, didn't get spotted, there doesn't seem to be anyone here, so I'm like, start the game, I've got the chance to reload. And I'll say with the reload not being that horrific anymore for the tank, it's not a consideration. Now, you still want to hold on, though. Oh, unfortunately, we bounced there. You still want to hold on. So you saw me when I was aiming at that Concept 1B. I could have fired at any moment to shoot that guy, but I still had 2-3 seconds left on the reload. So I held on for as long as possible until that 3rd shell went in, and then I fired at him. One of the most frustrating things to do in an auto-reloader and to be watching someone with an auto-reloader is to be that 1 second off and they just fire the shell at someone to try and kill them. Now, obviously, in a do-or-die situation where you don't want to take a hit, sure. But when you're waiting like this, where you're waiting for a shot at a tank that you're perfectly safe from, it's really frustrating to see someone burn the DPM when they could quite easily just wait for that final shell to be loaded. Now, unfortunately, we ended up wasting the shells again against the Balsig. We ended up one with only tracking him, not doing any damage to a Balsig. That really surprised me because that thing has no armor and I should have probably done a lot more to it. But it is what it is. We penned it with the 2nd shot, and the 3rd shot, unfortunately, well, he got unspotted, so God knows where he'd gone. But again, we're in the sort of situation where we have chance to reload, which is nice. While we're progressing up to this ridgeline in front of us, I'm just using the buildings to stay covered from anyone that would try and have intentions of shooting me. Because that's what we need to do. We need to get up to this ridgeline and stay safe. Because once we get to the ridgeline, we can use the strength of the tank, which is the solid turret on it, and try and start unloading on people. They still have a lot of team left. In fact, they are winning, technically, at the minute. And as we come over the ridgeline, we end up spotting this Barask. So we try and pop a shot while auto-aimed. Stupid move, really. I should not have done that, because that means I ended up missing. Aim, you fool. Aim. Sometimes it's when you sit there watching your own replays, you go, what are you doing, you idiot? Why did you do that? Is what it is. So we get a nice shot into that guys we're coming over. I'm just on this ridgeline watching what's going on. The M46 Patton manages to bounce on our turret, which is nice. We get a shot into him. Again, we're just going to wait for the reload, even though this Barask looked like he was coming in. We got shot on the buttocks, and it's like, the buttocks are mine. Stop shooting me. We shut down the T28 prototype, and now the M46 is coming in. It's like, bro, leave me alone. I get a shot into him because I kind of felt like I was going to die at that point. So I was like, you know, I'm just going to fire. But fortunately enough, he ended up pulling back because he took a few hits there from behind, which is exactly what I needed. And we're just waiting for the reload now to come in. This T29 on my right is a danger, and I'm just keeping my eye on that M46 Patton because I was thinking he's going to come back. But he doesn't. The T29 comes over. He ends up bouncing, and it's like, sir, oh, thanks for ramming me. Now I can kill you. Goodbye. That guy made a mistake because he thought he could ram me and kill me. He bounced. Like I say, the armor on the tank isn't paper. It's enough to ricochet shots here and there, and like that tank only has 198 pen. It's going to struggle against my armor if it doesn't aim it properly. And, like I say, fortunately it bounced. He rammed me, and that meant that I could fully clip him out. I was going to do it anyway, because at that point it was like, well, if I don't dump the clip, I'm dead anyway, so I may as well just dump it and pad my damage up, right? Which is what auto-reloaders are good at. And, fortunately enough, like I say, he rammed me. He didn't manage to kill me with that ram, but managed to put himself into a position where he was actually a one-shot. Now, we get the effective kill on that Balsig there. Now, again, having the DPM is something that I probably would have wanted, and the fact that I didn't realise at the time I only had 3 shells of AP left. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to aim for the cupola of this Tortoise, but unfortunately it bounces because 220 pen is not enough for the cupola of the Tortoise anymore. And we're just going to now wait to fully reload this clip. Yeah, I took out the Balsig because, well, it was a 2-shot, and I was the only one with effective shots at him. I wasn't the one spotting him, but effectively I was the only one that could shut him down. So I made sure with my clip I was effective, get a tank out of the game, get a gun out of the game, because obviously a tank with 1 HP has the same amount of effectiveness as a tank with full HP. It's got a gun that hits, right? So you want to get rid of guns. And now we're nearly loaded, we're going to be going after this Tortoise, who is basically face-hugging my other TD, which I can't see what it is. But we've got the clip, which means that we can shut this guy down. So we help out our TD friend and get rid of the Tortoise. We're up to 4.3k damage, 1400 assistance, and there's only one tank left on the enemy team. So I'm just going to wait for my reload for a little bit because I'm a one-shot. If I go over instantly with no clip, what was the point? I'll get spotted, I'll probably die. So we're just waiting for the reload to go in. I'm waiting for the second shell to go in. Once the second's in, I'll be alright to go at it. We saw where a shell came from on the left there. You saw a muzzle flash. There it is. It's the Waffle Panzer IV. I'm just waiting for that extra second to get a shell in. So we get one in. We are going for the second, but unfortunately the 111 GFT shuts him down. That's one of those scenarios where it's kind of frustrating because I should have just dropped the first two I had in the clip instead of waiting. But it is what it is. We finished the game with 5 kills, 4.6k damage, 2.5k assistance, ace tanker, the high caliber, 2,151 base XP. Really nice game for the Progetto 54, a tank that is fairly solid now that it's been buffed. Can be a fair amount of fun to play. Just use the mobility to your advantage and then use the flexibility of the auto reloader with a reload that is worse than most of its competitors, but still it can be very effective. So as always everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.